Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty and I'm joined by Sean Martin, Haggerty10 at Sean Martin TCW. Good morning, everybody. How are you, Sean?
Not bad, Tony. Yourself?
Yes, I'm fine, and we'd like to inform our subscribers and viewers that we have a new deal which is currently in place where you get a free month. So if you want to subscribe, you'll get a free month to all our premium content and lots of good content on there. There's even stuff from me and Sean as well. There you go. So we'll go straight into it, Sean. Now, I'm going to go all Celtic dad reference on you here, Sean. Celtic January transfer policy. For those who are aware of these things, I'm a bit confused. I don't know if it's Michael Nicholson or Vivian Nicholson in the chair, Sean. For those of a certain vintage, Vivian Nicholson won the pools many years ago, the football pools. I think it was £750,000 or £1 million she won in the 70s or 80s, which was a lot of money back then. And she was asked what was she going to do, and she famously said she's going to spend. Now I think Michael Nicholson is adopting that kind of similar policy with Ange. They're going on a bit of a spending spree, Sean. What's going on?
Aye, it looks as if they are. Aye, it's more spend. Aye, but I think I would like to view it as speculate to accumulate, that kind of thing.
I prefer that one, yes.
And it's encouraging. Obviously, the way that this January window will be perceived in the future is only how these signings actually do and what happens in May. But on the face of it, I like it. On the face of it, I think it shows a willingness to actually grasp the nettle a wee bit rather than wait, rather than treat January the way that it's often been treated by the Celtic board in the past, which you can only give Michael Nixon and Ange and the rest of the board the credit for. Because I don't know if anybody really expected it to be so gung-ho at the start of the 11 days into January. 4 new signings, a 5th imminent, supposedly. And no signs of stopping by the looks of it either. So, no, I'm going to choose to look at it as speculating to accumulate, and hopefully that turns out to be 40 million accumulations by the end of May.
I think that's what everybody is hoping at the minute, Sean. That's very true, a very true statement of speculating to accumulating, but they're doing it for a reason, aren't they? They are having a tilt at the league. They're having a tilt at trying to get this Champions League 40 million. And if the worst comes to the worst and they don't win the title, they're certainly tooling up for having a rip at the qualifiers to make sure that they're in the finest fettle to have an assault on the qualifiers to get through to the lucrative stages of the Champions League, i.e. the group stages.
I think that's a fair point as well, because it's not, and I wouldn't accuse it of being glass half empty or anything like that either. I think it's a fair thing to look forward to. Like if that doesn't happen, if you as you say tool up in January but don't win the league, for instance, it's not necessarily that the whole thing's been a failure, because you know what it's like. By the time summer rolls around and the qualifiers roll around, last year was potentially one of the worst for it, probably the worst for it in terms of not being ready in any way, shape or form. Not just because it was a new manager, but the amount of loan signings that had left, big players that were leaving or about to leave. That presumably won't be the case this summer coming. So even if the worst happens and they don't win the league, it's not necessarily a total failure of the January transfer window. It could actually lead to a better tilt at the qualifiers if it happens to be that route they need to go down.
And going into the comments, Sean Ramacure, morning, regular contributor, easy for me to say. Morning all, here's hoping today's the day. Jota Carter Vicker signs a new Aussie lad sings too. Jamie Young, morning all, morning Jamie. And Ed Janzo says, funny how it's only the 11th of Jan, we're all getting impatient for the signs. Bonkers for Celtic. David Bradley, another regular contributor. Hi panel, hi David, how you doing? Jamie Young comes back in, spend, loving life at Celtic. Narcotech comes in and says, literally can't wait for the 17th. And Peter Quinn has gone all Harry Enfield on as loads of money. For those who remember Harry Enfield's character back in the 80s. And Tim and on, regular contributor, we're in far better shape now than we've been for a few seasons. And I think that's the point we're making, Sean. We are in far better shape and we're treating this January transfer window very seriously. Celtic mean business.
It is that is exactly what it is that they're treating it seriously. They're using it to their own advantage, which is something we've spoke about for the last few weeks. This winter break getting brought forward, you could see it as a hindrance, or you could see it as an opportunity. It might still prove to have been a hindrance by the time February rolls around and that there's maybe people away on international duty. But I was going to choose to see it as a possible avenue for Celtic to take advantage of the early break, get their business done, get people bedded in, and all of that. And lo and behold, they've actually used it exactly like that. Which, as much as I was saying it, I wasn't necessarily thinking it would actually come to pass. That is what they're doing. It's good to see.
Are you hinting that they listen to the Celtic way, Sean? They're aware of what we're saying on these kind of forums and blogs?
Ordinarily, I would say no, but the fact that they signed Rio Hatate's made me think otherwise.
Very much so, yes, indeed. No, Adrian Stone comes in and says the Ange effect. I used that yesterday. Said never mind the Lynx effect. Feel the Ange effect. Yes, I think that's a big consideration when you're talking about what Celtic are doing. Ange and the board are clearly on amicable and speaking terms, Sean. It's obvious to see, isn't it?
Aye, Alison wrote a column kind of exploring that relationship between Ange and Michael Nicholson and how important that was going to be. So how important it already has been the first 11 days of January.
Yeah.
And that's worth a read. It's just kind of taking stock and pointing out that this isn't Michael Nicholson's kind of first rodeo, although it's his first tilt at the chief executive role. Alison's pointing out he's been involved in the nitty-gritty of transfer dealings and stuff for years under Peter Lawwell, so he wasn't getting into it. I think the phrase Alison used, he never went into it with his eyes closed. So, and that is bearing fruit already. There's no bedding in period for him at this point. That said, obviously, you all know what my thoughts are on the way that the board, and that includes Nicholson, dealt with the Bernard Higgins situation. But putting that aside for a minute, since he's been appointed permanently, and the way that he's dealt with this transfer window so far, it is only credit that you can give him.
Yep. And just looking at Pedro comes in and says, Sean, is this a slight glimpse of the modernisation of the club? We've banged on about that as well, haven't we? Yourself?
I don't know how far I'd use that term, but it's a positive step regardless, I will say that.
Someone on comes in and says, is it maybe time to consider giving the board, dare I say it, credit? Well, we have been saying that it's been a very good start by Michael Nicholson in the CEO role. Because one, he's not really said much, but he's dotted the I's and crossed the T's and written the numbers for those checks to sign those players. So I think Celtic fans are happy with that.
I think so, aye. Part of not the only reason that the board were criticised, but part of it was the lack of action, the kind of inaction of seeing what was there as an opportunity, and that was including the last 10 years, even though they were winning. So to see this January start so positively, it is to their credit.
And Martin K comes in, strength and depth happening. There you go. There we go. There's the phrase, strength and depth. Depth charts, you name it. Sean's your man.
That's it.
If you're wanting depth, Sean.
Running out of space on this depth chart now. It's went the opposite way.
Sean, take the floor. Strength and depth charts. On you go. Discuss.
No, it's all on the website. If you subscribe, free month, remember? Free month. You'll be able to read all the depth charts you want.
Yeah. Indeed. No, I had to laugh. Rab McEwen, this comment just made me laugh. Ange can have what he wants, my wife included, saying that he might want a receipt. That's very derisory towards your wife, Rab. I hope she doesn't watch or listens. But yeah, I think the Celtic supporters are feeling that way about Ange, Sean, that the Celtic board should give him what he wants for the time being and within reason, and that seems to be the case, doesn't it?
Aye, definitely within reason. Aye, of course, that goes without saying. I think he probably got himself a fair amount of credit in the bank, figuratively and literally. The fact that Kyogo has been so good since he arrived, and that was, but clearly his signing. There was no doubt about it. There was no dubiety. It was Ange who wanted him. It was Ange who trusted that he would be a success, as he said himself. So I think that maybe bought him a lot of credit in the bank. Way this is a guy I want, blah blah blah, and they've went right. Well, look at what he got right with Kyogo. So the guy knows what he needs.
Yeah, David Bradley comes in. Need to start with our bank to put real pressure on Rangers, Tony, to show we mean business. I think that's fair enough. And Damien O'Hanlon comes in. Don't think anyone can argue this has been by far the best January window we've ever had. Last year was shocking. Only player to arrive, and January was Kenny from Everton. Certainly up there with the January best January transfer window, Sean. so far. It's not even finished.
Aye, I mean, obviously, as I say, the way that it's perceived in the future will be depending on how these guys do. But that point about John Joe Kenny and the rest of the loan signings as well. I mean, I've banged on about it in terms of last summer, the way that they approached having a new manager and then the qualifiers and stuff and leaving them short-handed.
Yep.
A lot of that was to do with not really utilising January in any way other than to get to the end of the season, if you know what I mean. There was a lot of loan signings in the sense that 3 of the back 4 last season when they finished the season were loanees. So it's just not conducive to taking you into the summer and actually, even though they knew there was going to need to be a new man at the helm and all of that entails, but when you go shopping in January, maybe they thought, well, this is going to be different, that kind of thing. Regardless of that, there was not a lot of forward planning and there was not a lot of tooling up, as we're using this phrase. So
Rap comes back in and says about his wife, it's okay, Tony, she's an Evertonian, constantly depressed. Well, there you go. And Matt D, I've cut it rock. Angie's preferring for Bato in a big fight in Europe next time round. I think that's the case as well. He wants to be competitive in Europe. Sean, he's banged on about that's where you make your mark and that's where you make your name. And he wants to make a name for himself in that at that level as well.
It does. You heard, as much as I will still argue that Europa League campaign had plenty of positives because of the strength of the group. You could hear after that Bayer Leverkusen game in particular that Ange was quite gutted that it wasn't going to be the Europa League because he obviously wanted the Champions League. That didn't work out. Nobody can really blame him for that, I would say. The Europa League, Celtic had the chance still. There's no denying that, but I still think the strength of that group, there's a lot of positives they could take from it. Ange himself was disappointed because, no disrespect to the Conference League, because you're in that, and in my opinion, you should be in it to win it. But obviously, of the available competitions there, after knockout from the Champions League, you would want to stay in the Europa League, and Ange basically said that himself, that he would want to test this team and his principles against the best possible opposition. And at that point, after the Leverkusen, or before the Leverkusen game, that was the Europa League. After it, he was coming to terms with the fact that it wasn't the Europa League, and I think that disappointment is almost a positive as well, because the manager wasn't happy with it either.
Now Narcotech comes in, trim the fat please, Ange. Indeed, and Tim Anon says backup keeper on the Deadwood out, make this almost a perfect window. And Lanky 67, 2 weeks, 6 days left for the transfer window, still got time to get a centre back winger and a striker, and we've got a strong squad to compete in the Europa Conference. We touched upon that yesterday, Sean, that we said that inwardly Ange would be probably targeting the Europa Conference League to have a right good go to it. Outwardly, we'll say the usual, we'll take it a game at a time and a round at a time, see who we get, but he'll want to win it. He's got 3 trophies left and he'll want to win them all.
So he should. It's 3, depending on the way the draws go and stuff, it's 3 winnable trophies. Like you've got to, in my opinion, you've got to be fighting to win all 3 of them. There is obviously a hierarchy. There's a pecking order of if you had to choose that kind of thing. But in my opinion, and especially with the squad depth that's coming in now, you need to be looking to win all 3 of those trophies. Whether you win them all or not is a different matter, but you need to be going out to win them all.
Well, he's trying to be competitive as possible, isn't he? In them all, you know. And John Coyle saying, good window, but like to see a colour of the Deadwood. Is that what you would like to see, Sean? The ones that are not going to feature either going out on loan or being permanently transferred?
I think there's a couple there that should be on the way out. Obviously there's injuries to consider as well, and that there's the kind of high intensity style that will probably lend itself to more injuries coming forward, and you've got to think in that, and unfortunately there are players that probably will have to stick about without even making match day squads. But overall, I think there's still a few there that could be on the way out. It should be arguably be on the way out.
Don't rain in the parade, Sean. Talking about injuries, people are happy. They're all upbeat. You know? I get what you mean, of course, yes. And then Narcotech comes in and says, what if Ange won the quad? Tim and Nonsense well capable in the Europa Conference. Well, time will tell, won't it? We will see moving forward, Sean, about if they'll be competitive in all 3 fronts that are left. We'll be better prepared next year. I think that's the whole point of this January window, to be better prepared for, as we say, the Champions League if they win the title, or the qualifiers if they don't win the title, Sean. I mean, we've touched upon that already, yeah.
I think that is a fair point. As I say, I would not consider that to be a glass half empty kind of think you need to consider, because I think you almost need to. It's prudent to think, right, well, getting all these players in January, what if it doesn't pay off with winning the league? I don't think you panic at that point. Obviously, context is everything, and you don't know what can happen between then and May. But if you don't win the league and you've still got that strength and depth there that they're bringing in now, and everybody's bedded in another 5 months, then I think that it's fair enough to say, well, actually, we're still in a better position to qualify for the Champions League than we otherwise would have been. That kind of thing.
I think Rab's, if Ange wins the quad, I'm changing my daughter's name to Ange. There you go, says it all. That's confidence in your manager, Sean, and compliments indeed.
Yep.
And Greg comes in. Each round of the Conference League brings good money in. Yep, of course it does. It's all valuable to the pot, isn't it? So
it is. You obviously you can't look past Bodo Glimt either, because they were unbeaten in their group, beat Roma and stuff like that. It is going to be a difficult game, albeit there's certain caveats with their season having finished and stuff where they're losing a couple of players, lost one to Hibs last week, that kind of thing, where they won't be the exact same team that done so well in the group stage, and you can't look past them. And Ange will be saying that when the press conferences roll around before that game, that you don't look past that, you take it a game at a time, a tie at a time, that kind of thing. But nonetheless, looking at it bigger picture-wise, there's 3 trophies there to be won, in my opinion.
Of course. And today, Sean, the three Japanese captures will be introduced to fan media, given the wee media conference. So it'll be interesting to see what they say and why they came and signed for Celtic. I would imagine that Ange and Kyogo would feature prominently in the answers to some of their questions. What do you think? I
think so, and I think that's a fair enough route to go down, because it's because of Ange's links to the J League, links to obviously Maeda in particular personally, having seen Hatate and Ideguchi before, as well as that's why I brought Kyogo in, because Kyogo terrorised his defence back in the J League. The way that his defenders were talking about him and stuff, I think it's only natural that you go down that route of, well, why did you want to work under Ange? Was it a big deal, that kind of thing? Because it's as I say, it's only natural. That is, albeit right, it's a bigger move for them, more money. Celtic's a bigger club than they've been playing at. You can't ignore that a big reason, a key reason that they've wanted to come to Celtic at this point in time is because Ange is a manager.
Yeah, I think
and the success of Kyogo, obviously.
the Ange effect. The Ange effect, you can't underestimate that, can you, Sean? Really, what he's brought to the club already, and what he is now bringing to the club, and these guys, and he knows these guys. He's an extensive knowledge of that league. So here it goes. But John Coyle comes in and says this year would be a bonus. I imagine he means winning the title, but definitely building for the future. And I think that's exactly what Ange is doing, isn't he? He's eye on further afield.
Aye, there was a moment after the opening league defeat to Hearts where it seemed, obviously it's always more of an echo chamber than anything else, but it seemed on social media and stuff that maybe there was some doubts about Ange and stuff. And I wrote a piece saying about Ange constantly using the term belief when he's talking about his players, when he's talking about his philosophy, when he's talking about stuff in general. Belief's a motif that kind of runs through everything that he talks about, and it's something that he requires and he needs. And I made the point that a way back after that Hearts game that it would be good if you could see that belief in the board, because I felt you could see it from the players, even though it didn't work out against Hearts that night, that kind of thing. And I think you are seeing that belief from the board now. And another thing that it ties into is that Ange, when he was introduced, said that he likes to create special things when he arrives at a club. And part of that belief is to get you to the stage where you can create special things. He's already done some of that. He would say himself that it's only the beginning. And I think that's a great attitude to have. And I think that this January is solidifying that belief, not only for him, but publicly solidifying it, that everybody's pulling for Ange at this point. There's no doubt about it. And that the creating special things will come with time, whether it's before May or whether it's going forward. I think it's a longer term plan as much as anything else.
We love that, Sean, that positive that Celtic are on the cusp of something special with Ange and the board in tandem. We like that. And if you've got belief in us, then why not subscribe? We're offering you a free month, and you'll be able to read all the brilliant stuff that's there and watch some cracking videos like this. and the odd article by myself and Sean might appear just to disrupt the flow of all of that. But yeah, if you subscribe today, you'll get a free month. Hopefully take advantage of that offer, guys. But we always appreciate the contributors coming in and your comments. And as I say, we try and read as many of them as possible. Another positive day in the world of Celtic, Sean. We'll see what the Japanese trio have to say about it all. And maybe there'll be more signings. You're not ruling it out with this new look Celtic. So it's all a bit bizarre. We just try to get used to it all. To be honest, we're all getting our head around it. But I tell you what it is. It's great fun and it's exciting for the road that lies ahead. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks, Sean, for your contribution. Always enjoy it.
Cheers, Tony. Cheers, guys.